and install the cameras.
It seems to me just intuitively that the longer you make that yellow light, the more time you give somebody to stop, so they're not questioning as they're approaching an intersection, is this light going to turn yellow? Am I going too fast so that if it does turn yellow, it's going to turn, it's going to turn red and I'm going to go through the intersection? Am I going too slow? You're faced with all these decisions as you're entering an intersection. It just seems to me that the longer you gave people to slow down and to stop, the better, the safer the intersection would be. And particularly when people are now worried, in addition to being worried about an accident occurring, now they're worried about getting tickets.
Yeah, I think you're on point. They have what's called the dilemma zone, which is the point at which you're not sure if you should slam on the brakes or go straight through. Like if you're only 20, 30 feet, obviously you're going to go straight through. If you're very far away, you're going to slow down gradually and come to a complete stop. There's a zone in the middle of those where you have to make a split-second decision. And what we want is really for there to be reasonable enforcement tolerances, because I don't want to tell the engineers how to do their job exactly. I mean, I think it's a possible countermeasure. But the real key is we don't want people slamming on the brakes because they feel they're going to get a ticket for just a split second after, just for choosing the wrong decision in that dilemma. But if the intersection's engineered properly, that's not going to lead to a crash, because there's going to be an all red phase for those dangerous, potentially dangerous crashes to be avoided. So I think that's really the bigger key, is making sure there's just reasonable enforcement tolerances. No, if you're just a split second late, you're not going to get a ticket. If you're behaving dangerously, you will.
Right, and I think the fact that these cameras are at certain intersections now has caused that zone, what did you call it again? The
dilemma zone.
The dilemma zone to increase in size. Certainly, I find myself in that zone often. Usually it's when my wife is riding shotgun, and I always get, why'd you stop short? Why'd you go through? But nevertheless, I think that's something. If we truly were talking about making intersections safer, I think that's something that we could do from a traffic engineering point of view, without hitting people over the head with, with tremendous fines. So, thank you for your testimony.
Yeah, thank you.
Legislator Brown.
Thank you. I believe the Public Safety Committee meeting is on the 12th at 10 a.m. in the morning, so you're more than welcome to come.
I'll be there.
And I would like the list of your requests prior to that meeting, and I will be happy to submit them for you. I have made a request, I think a few weeks ago, I did make a request of DPW and our traffic court to provide me with a data, accidents prior to red light cameras, accidents since the red light cameras, and also the revenue information. So I feel it's appropriate to give them the appropriate time to provide it. So I'd be happy to get yours. Now, let me ask you something. Many states, depends on the state you live in, what your insurance costs are. And so I'm just curious where insurance companies stand, and does that help reduce people's insurance rates, having the red light cameras? It's changing their behavior. I mean, can you give me some information how insurance companies do the insurance companies support red light cameras? And I did get some information from the Federal Highway Administration. So just like your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, all those guidelines from the federal government are certainly welcome. But the insurance companies, I think by and large, do support them. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, which is kind of a national umbrella organization, they're certainly in favor of automated enforcement, and they've done studies. But I think they would agree with our position, which is we support them where they work, because insurance companies would rather have fewer crashes, fewer injuries, fewer claims to pay out, and I think that is in line with the goal of everyone here. So they do support them But here it doesn't really, it doesn't affect any rates because there's no points for a red light camera infraction because it goes to the owner of the car, not the driver, so you don't know who is driving. But by and large, the insurance companies do support them in terms of have they been lobbying for them in New York State. I don't think that's really been the case. I think it's really been more the municipalities and then kind of the safety advocates, and then I don't think they've been as active here, but nationally they do.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Legislator Kennedy, do you have any questions for?
No, I've asked for some of the same statistics, and what I was told is they have not yet been compiled, so it's not just you.
All right, I'm glad.
One more quick question. I picked one that was the middle of the road. I mean, there are a lot of them less violent, less right-hand turn, a lot less. So, I've been as a cop for 25 years. In my opinion, I would never, ever give a person a ticket for what you're about to say. Clearly, the person slowed down almost to a stop, looked. I've seen way more that were less than this, and boom, $80. I mean, in terms of the trouble, if you speak on behalf of the AAA, would you be upset if this was the type of ticket that the majority of the tickets were?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our members have called me up. I mean, our members have, very diverse opinions, but I've certainly gotten calls and complaints about red light cameras in Suffolk, but also, in Nassau and in Yonkers and in the city. And they show me violations like that where you slow down. You almost have to go to the videotape like it's a challenge in the NFL to slow it down to see whether...
I have a lot of
they're-
those, because I had over 50
Yeah.
people who sent me stuff in. I have one with a police car directly next to it. Can you give him a ticket?
Yeah, I mean, we really want kind of the same discretion that police officers have. I mean, we don't want to remove that possibility for enforcement, because actually in Ohio they instituted a legislation that curbed the use of automated enforcement, and then it came out that the sponsor of the legislation got a camera ticket, and then they had the video online, and he sped through. He turned right without even slowing down at all. And I looked at him like, oh my God, that's dangerous. That guy should get a ticket. But then you look at something like that where you have a judicious driver that's slowing down, very nearly coming to a complete stop, making sure there's no traffic in the oncoming direction, there's no cross traffic, making sure there's no pedestrians or bicyclists. And that's not someone that you want to give a ticket to, because not only is it unfair, but that person loses trust in their government, right? Like right there. A person's trust in their government can be pretty flimsy, and you get an $80 ticket for something that is
I
not
have a woman.
dangerous at all.